Hello, my name is Mary Lou Wholeness, and I'm talking about tonight divinity versus humanity. What do you live out of? Are you living out of just your human existence? Or do you realize that you were created to live out of all infinite possibility? Right now, on planet Earth. Not someday when you get to heaven, but right now. It's almost too good to be true, isn't it? But this message is the most powerful, transforming message. And follow us along tonight. If you weren't with us last week, you can order the CD, Divinity versus Humanity, and hear the complete message. But I'm going to start where I left off last week in Matthew 5 and verse 14, and it says this. It says in verse 14, "You are a light. You are the light of the world, a city that is set on a hill that cannot be hid." What is Christ saying here? First, Christ said, "I am the light." You see, everything he did was a picture to show us our identity. But now he's saying, you are the light. Tonight, wherever you are the light. It says in John, it says, "There is a light that lighteth every man that cometh into the world." And that light is your true existence as a light being. Christ, we're hearing all of these new things and we're thinking it's a new message. But when we go back and read this Bible by the Spirit, we see that Christ taught this message 2,000 years ago if we had ears to hear it. But this Bible is becoming new and we are awakening to the greater dimension of what Christ was saying. He began to teach this upside down message. You're a light. You're a light being. You came out in Genesis 1 and verse 2 where it says, "Let there be light." Verse 3, where it says, "Let there be light." That was you being released from that great infinite light. We're all of these light beings, and that is you tonight. And it said you cannot be hid because you are the light of the world. So in Matthew 5:39, let's look what else he began to teach. In 5 and verse 39, he said this. He said, "But I say unto you, that you resist not evil. But whosoever shall smite thee on your right cheek, turn to him your other cheek." Haven't we heard this? What you resist, persist. What you resist, you give power to. Do you see that Christ taught these supernatural secrets 2,000 years ago? He said, don't resist. When you resist, you just give it power. Let's read verse 42. It says this, "Give to him that asks you, and from him that would borrow of thee, turn you not away." Do you know, and I said this last week, but I'm going to ask you tonight, do you know the difference between divinity and humanity? Divinity is always scattering, giving, and humanity is always taking, and it's gathering. Humanity seeks to gather, and divinity seeks to scatter and to give. Can you hear that? I want to ask you tonight, are you a distributor or are you a gatherer? You see, we have to live, not only think, but let those thoughts become real in our life and begin to live like God on planet Earth. Divinity understands that it's only distributing of itself, the giving away of itself, that it can be magnified and glorified, because there's no lack in divinity. You see, do you feel like there's a lack in your life tonight? You know, so many times when we have a lack, we want to pull back. We want to quit giving, when really what we should do is begin even giving more, knowing that it's going to be returned to us, knowing that it is an endless supply. Humanity believes that it's in the gathering, bringing things to itself, that it can be glorified and magnified. You see, Christ came and showed us a different way of thinking. He said, don't resist evil. How many times we want to resist that evil, and what happens, what we resist, it builds and multiplies. And then he said we're to be that giver. You see, he said if somebody asks you for something, give to those that are asking. So we have it. Here we have it, the givers and the gatherers. And it's the great difference that they're exact opposites. The divinity versus humanity. Want to know where you are tonight? Look at your life. Are you a gatherer? Or are you a giver? Are you a supply to every need? Are you that instant supply to every need that you see? If you knew who you really were, if you knew the divinity that lives within you, you would always be that supply. But as we see it, we understand it, that great gulf of those two differences begins to come together. The Bible gives us some examples. Let's go to Matthew 6 and verse 24. I love the words of Christ always teaching such a deeper message than we have totally understand. In verse 24, he says this, no man, and listen to this, no man can serve two masters, for he either will hate the one and love the other, or he will hold to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve God and mammon. You cannot live in duality. You might think you can serve two masters, but either you are despising one and loving the other, or despising the other and loving the other one. You see, really, duality, you either live distributing or you live your life gathering. You want to live in endless possibilities? You want to live as Christ lived? He was always the distributor of everything that he had. Look at verse 25. Therefore I say unto you, take no thought for your life. You know, this is a big one. A big one. Christ demonstrated. He really took no thought. It says, what you shall eat or what you shall drink, nor for your body what you shall put on it. Is your life not more than meat, and your body more than raiment? He just told us in the last chapter, he said, you are light. Your body is much more than the physical body that surrounds that spirit. You are light. To give light to the whole house, to the whole world. The house of God is this whole world. Let's read verse 26. Behold, the fowls of the air, for they sow not, neither do they reap, nor gather into barns, yet your heavenly Father feeds them. And are you not much better than they? Which of you by taking thought can add 1 cubit into your stature? You know, we think by taking thought and by gathering that we can glorify ourselves, make ourselves rich and all these things. But right now, if I took thought, I'm not going to grow another inch. I'm 5'6". No thoughts are going to change that. God ordained that in me. So in verse 28, let's go there. It says that. And why take ye thought for raiment? Consider the lilies of the field, for they grow, they toil not, neither do they spin. No longer toil. You see, it said in Genesis that part of the curse at Adam, when he lost the mind of God, his ideas changed, and he thought he had to earn his bread by the sweat of his brow. But then Christ came 2,000 years later and said, 4,000 years later, and said, I am the bread of life. He that eateth of me shall never die. You see, it's not in that toiling, but it's in that believing, in that awakening that you are a source, that you can give out of an infinite supply. We are divinity, not by might, not by strength, but by spirit. We are divinity. We were created to live in all infinite possibilities. Isn't that wonderful? Divinity seeks nothing for itself. Humanity first seeks for themselves first. As long as they imagine themselves to be human. See, the key is this. You see, as long as we imagine ourselves to be human, we're always going to be trying to pull to ourselves because we're needy as human beings. But once we truly awaken that we are divinity, we will be the salt of the earth. We will be those givers. We will take no thought. We will be living out of an endless supply. Divinity has no such thoughts as needs. Christ never had that thought. He knew that he came to the world to be the supply. What have you come to the world for? You see, we at New Beginning Ministries want to begin to live out of that infinite. There is nothing too great for you because you are, that source lives within you, that God lives within you. But why? It said to Abraham, I have blessed you to make you a blessing. See, that's the whole thing. It's not to just be gathering to ourselves to have. It's that we can be that blessing to the world.